All right, good afternoon. I'm here, Mr. Kendall Keith Craig. I'm preparing some talking points and some notes for the Concerned Black Male panel. I'm going to start with the source from The Hill. The title is, When Black Men Can't Afford to Teach, Our Children Pay the Price. So let's get started with some of the things I noticed in this particular article. Number one, in Joe Biden's American Families Plan, he calls for Congress to invest $9 billion in programs that improve training and support for teachers, address teacher shortages, and increase teacher diversity. Sorry about that. Teachers are our children's earliest role models outside of the home, yet only 2% of the nation's teachers are black men. Next point. Student loan debt may be a barrier for teachers of color to enter the profession, as graduates of color are more likely to have student loan debt than white graduates. Moreover, all teachers face a pay penalty. They are not paid as well as their similarly educated peers. For black males who may be the first generation to attend college or who do not have family wealth, the price of entry to the teaching profession can serve as a deterrent when other careers offer more immediate financial gain. All right, so more points on this topic. All right, after graduation, teachers can expect to pay additional costs for licensure and credentials. Teachers of color are more likely to enter the teaching profession through alternative certification programs that allow bachelor's trained candidates to pursue teaching credentials. Fortunately, there are programs seeking to provide innovative solutions. The Teachers Rooted in Oakland project, founded by Mayor Libby Scaff, provides subsidized housing or stipends to teachers of color who are committed to a career teaching STEM and special education in Oakland Unified School District. The North Carolina Teaching Fellows Program provides scholarships to teacher candidates at select education preparatory programs who commit to teaching STEM or special education at a North Carolina public school. For black students, having a black teacher has been shown to make them feel safer, learn more, drop out less, and pursue college at higher rates. So here's some additional points, 2 more points for this article that I'm going to swiftly move on to the next. Students of all races and ethnicities who have had a black male teacher are less likely to hold stereotypical biases about black men. Students of all races and ethnicities who have had a black male teacher are less likely to hold stereotypical biases about black men. All right, last point that I have for this article is, furthermore, labor market research suggests that having one black male teacher can reduce dropout rates. An economist estimates that for every high school dropout, the general public loses $300,000 in tax revenues and increased spending on crime and public assistance. So the next article, the source is What Black Men Need from Schools to Stay in the Teaching Profession by Jocelyn Borowski and Madeline Will. I only have about 2 points from this particular article, right? Yeah, 2, but they're 2 long points. So here we go. First one. America's teachers are overwhelmingly white and female, despite the fact that America's students are mostly people of color. The statistics are stark. Fewer than 7% of teachers are black, and just 2% are black men. And teacher turnover rates are especially high for black men. Second point. That's because schools can be underwhelming places for black men, experts say. Studies show that black male teachers are pigeonholed into disciplinarian roles instead of being recognized for their pedagogy and content expertise. Also, many teachers of color are concentrated in hard-to-staff schools serving high-poverty communities where there can often be a lack of resources and support. All right, so the next article, the source is, the title is, Why the Lack of Black Male Educators Isn't Just a Problem for Black Students, by Robert Croston. He's a Chicago Public Schools principal at Jenner Academy of the Arts. The need for black male teachers is not just a student need, it's an American student's need. For centuries, black men have been reviled in American folklore as brutes, field hands, and petty criminal gangsters looking for a prime opportunity to take advantage of white women. Now, my next source comes from Why Black Men Quit Teaching. Some of these points get redundant, but it's important because many different sources, but you kind of get an overall theme of what the crisis or what the gist of the issue is. Only 2% of our nation's teachers are African American men. The argument may be well-intentioned, but it is a cop-out. Schools are failing black male students, and it's not because of the race of their teachers. These students are often struggling with the adverse effects of poverty, the inequitable distribution of resources across communities, and the criminalization of black men inside and outside of schools. Black male teachers can serve as powerful role models, but they cannot fix the problems minority students face simply by being black and male. Black male educators I work with have described their primary job as keeping black students passive and quiet and suspending them when they commit infractions. In this model, they are robbed of the opportunity to teach, while black male students are robbed of the opportunities to learn. Next point. About a year ago, a teacher named Joseph Matthews came rushing into my office saying, "I can't look at these black boys in the face and make them feel like I felt in school anymore. I have to quit." This is a pervasive yet under-researched phenomenon that seriously affects teacher retention. Instead of fixating on black male teachers, we need to examine how teachers are trained, their beliefs about young minority men, and how they engage their students. They should be prepared to teach each student's unique needs and to recognize that no student learns best under conditions that make him feel uncared for. If the notion that we must hire black male teachers in order to have positive role models for black youth makes sense, how can we not recognize that untrained and unprepared black male teachers can cause more harm than good? 2 more points from this article. The cycle of dysfunction is repeated in schools across the country when black men, unprepared and burdened with the expectations that inhibit them from being effective, are placed in front of students and told to teach. A better solution is to train all teachers, black and white, to acknowledge the biases they hold about their students based on their race, class, gender, sexual orientation, and physical ability. Then they can learn strategies for being effective with these students despite their differences. There must be a renewed focus on teacher preparation. My very last article here is from EdSource. It's called "Recruiting and Retaining Black Teachers Takes More Than Money." While nearly 3 out of 4 public school students are non-white, approximately 2/3 of our teachers are white. Most troubling is a serious lack of black male teachers, who only make up 1% of California's teachers' workforce. We are beginning to see a consensus develop that says more black educators are needed as one component of a strategy to help ensure more black students get the education they deserve. The first issue is obvious, but some would rather not talk about it. While there has been marginal progress in recent years, continued undereducation, over-incarceration, and other issues in the black community mean fewer black men are qualified to teach. Black men are underrepresented in nearly every profession that requires more than a high school diploma. Increasing the number of black men in the teaching profession is no different than increasing the number of black accountants, doctors, engineers, or lawyers. Drastic improvements in black male education are necessary to improve professional opportunities for black men everywhere, including as teachers. Next, to ensure that qualified black men who wish to teach actually make it to the profession, the role of the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, CTC, needs to be considered from an entirely new perspective. The current compliance-based system for the retaining of teachers is bureaucratic and over-reliant on exams at the expense of fairly determining teacher competency. Finally, school districts and charter schools may not contact the Commission on Teacher Credentialing directly to resolve issues regarding educator credentials, CTC policies, and okay, that's not relevant. I'm sorry. So I think that's the last relevant point that I have from that. All right, so these are my collective points so far that I'm working out for our panel later on this afternoon. And I think we're good to go.